you've got a permanent smile, haven't you, Dan?
Yeah, because I'm the happiest man alive.
Very good.
Wait, Dan, hold on. Why are you the happiest man alive? Is it because you're living in Brighton? Is it because you are the man behind Veg Power? Dan, why are you the happiest man alive?
Because I have a really fantastic job. Do you know, the wonderful thing about my job is nobody hates me. Because there's not there's nobody in the entire planet who disagrees with eat more veg. There's not like a militant anti-eating more veg brigade camped outside my house telling me that I'm doing evil. And so on the basis of the fact that everybody thinks what we're doing is really, very nice, and they're all terribly lovely to us, I just have a lovely world I live in where the whole world is delightful.
Excellent. David, in comparison to you and I, because we're basically in sales, David, aren't we? And we just have all that negativity of dealing with people that don't want to really buy with us or try to negotiate. Shall we start? Guys, we're live. We better do this properly. Hello, everyone. Welcome to myself, Max McGillivray from Beanstalk. We are live with the fantastic Dan Parker of Veg Power and the fantastic David Rogers from Tozer Seeds. Veg Power, a great positive update and discussion on how to change the attitudes and awareness of seasonal vegetables. That's the house and call for today, but we're really pleased to have David on because he's our, Dan, what should we describe David as? He's our star guest, isn't he? He's our Ronaldo. Let's go for that one. He is. He's the Ronaldo of the fresh produce sector.
Not sure I can live up to that billing.
He's very good with his feet. Okay, so let's look at Veg Power, especially for those on the podcast. And we're live onto YouTube, we're live onto LinkedIn, we're live onto Facebook. Veg Power, running a campaign that involves more than 200 organizations, brings valuable lessons on building and maintaining relationships. Veg Power, if you haven't heard of it, if you've been hiding behind your satchel at school or behind your desk at work, is a not-for-profit organisation focused on encouraging the UK to eat more veg. Since their inception around 3 years ago, their successes include the award-winning Eat Them to Defeat Them campaign in partnership with ITV, which included a TV ad supported by over £10 million of advertising from ITV, Channel 4 and Sky Media. This year, the campaign's accompanying schools programme reached 500,000 primary school kids from 1,900 schools. So that again, 1,900 schools. They were able to demonstrate behavioural change with an additional 517 million children's vegetable portions sold from the campaign's launch in February 2019 to July 2020. The Veg Power operating model includes a strong, diverse and vocal alliance that has nationwide reach and impact, all on a very low budget. The alliance consists of individuals, groups and organisations that are passionate about the cause. It includes large and small businesses, national and local government, NGOs, community groups and schools, celebrities and influencers. So let's get these gentlemen to introduce themselves properly, rather than my slightly frivolous start to this broadcast. Dan, just give a bit more of a background to your good self, please, so we can all learn from you.
Thanks very much. Good morning. So I'm Dan Parker. My background is in marketing and advertising. I spent about 25 years running campaigns for big consumer goods companies and supermarkets. And I've been here since the launch of Veg Power, where we've said, let's bring some of those high-level marketing skills and techniques that you might find at a packaged goods company. Let's bring them into the world of vegetables, bring them into the world of fresh produce, because if we want to get the world eating more veg, which we really need to do from the point of view of public health, and obviously we need to do from the point of view of industry, is we have got to win that emotional battle. We have got to persuade people that veg isn't the third thing on the plate, that it's not a commodity product, that it's something you cherish and value and look out for and try lots of different variety and get a lot of pleasure from veg. And that's the mission that we're on.
Okay, Dan, if it's okay to mention, because I think this is important, and I hope it's okay to mention, it's not like you're trying to sell toasters that you got no emotional contact with. You weren't overly well. And you got better. Why were you not well, and how did you get better?
Well, so I got about 6 years ago, at about the age of 46, I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which is the thing that put my dad in his grave and my aunt in her grave. And when I got that, I sort of stepped out of my bubble and realized that actually doing the work that I was doing was probably not helping that and not making the world a better place. And as I studied it, I realized that, just how food driven it is. I now have my diabetes in remission without any medication. And I do that purely by having a healthier lifestyle and eating a better choice of food. And the interesting thing is, not only do I have diabetes in remission, but the sluggishness that I felt in my 40s that I just thought was old age has gone, and I feel energized in a way that actually turns out this is how you should feel if you've got a decent diet, and it's quite life-changing. It's quite liberating.
Fantastic, Dan. And David, that's one of the reasons I needed you on, to try and help me keep up with Dan. He's so full of energy. So David, over to you, please. Who are you and who are you representing?
Okay, yeah. So my name's David Rogers. I'm the commercial director at Tozer Seeds. I've been working at Tozer Seeds for about 20 years, just over 20 years now. So my role, I began in sales, and now kind of my role is all encompassing. We've got businesses in Holland, Spain, and the USA, and I sort of oversee that. Yeah.
Okay, and just hold my figurative hand, because we've got a lot of students, a lot of people internationally dialed in, and they won't know too much about Tozer Seeds in the respect of what you do. Can you just give us a bit of a brief background of Tozer Seeds and what you actually do, and how the consumer would come across you, your colleagues, and your products, please?
Yeah, so Tozer Seeds, we're a vegetable breeding company, so we make our money by breeding new varieties of vegetables and selling the seed primarily to growers, but also to resellers and sort of Mr. Fothergills into that sort of hobby market. And we are pretty much, we're not the only vegetable breeding company in the UK, but we're probably, we do more vegetable breeding than either of the other two. There's only 3 of us, really. So yeah, it's an ongoing company, which breeding is ongoing. The R&D is a huge part of what we do, and we're relatively small. So in terms of vegetable breeding industry, most of it comes out of Holland. Most of our competitors are enormous compared to us. So we tend to work in areas that maybe they're not so interested in, or areas that we remain very, very strong in. So for instance, most of the celery you eat certainly in Northern Europe and Spain will be from our seeds.
Fantastic. David, I just had a WhatsApp in. Tozer Seeds, one of the best seed companies, if not the best seed company in the UK. Go Tozer Seeds. So that's from one of your contacts has already done it. And also, just if we forget sometimes about what you, David, and your colleagues are doing, you're basically feeding the nation. And I'm not trying to be emotional or glib. It's not like you're going back to what we were saying earlier, toasters. You're not making toasters, which, yeah, we all need toasters in our life. But we've already got this real life example with Dan. He wasn't well. He changed his diet. He started eating and consuming the products that you and your growers, clients, grow for all of us. So David, are you not sort of secretly proud that you're actually in this sector and making such a difference, especially with this upsurge of scratch cooking and with the likes of Veg Power looking to push your category? Are you not quite proud to be in the sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really, really interesting sector to be in. Absolutely, yeah. And more than that, touching on what Dan has said, I mean, our products are incredibly healthy. We all know, as Dan said, everybody's in favour of eating more vegetables. So absolutely, which is sort of why we got behind the Veg Power campaign. I think.
And so, come on, gents, if it's okay to ask about this commercial relationship, was that an easy sell, Dan, to get David on board? And David, were you really happy? Were you sort of running at this alliance with Veg Power? Because it looks to be a marriage made in heaven. Dan, you go first.
He whipped me, he ground me down. It was like a master-slave relationship, absolutely shocking. We had a couple of lovely conversations, and there's just such a natural synergies that I think that ultimately our job is to grow the category. If we grow the category, then people buy more vegetables. If we buy more vegetables, we plant more vegetables. Therefore, we need more vegetable seed. It's a pretty easy connection to make. I think the other thing that's really interesting, perhaps a question I was taught over David, is what I think we've also seen recently is a big interest in growing vegetables at a small scale at home, even on windowsills and in small gardens, which I've always believed is a very productive thing. It's a very healthy thing for a child or a family to do generally, but I think it really helps with their relationship with food. And I think it's we've seen a lot of exciting initiatives from the seed sector in general to help encourage that, and I think we'll see many more going forward.
Yes, and David, I would not hope, I'll just see that there's going to be this fantastic halo effect for yourself to be aligned to Dan, his great colleagues within Veg Power, because there's this circular symbiosis of you grow the seed, Dan looks to promote it to kids eat more of it, the growers need more, they come to you, David, for more seed. Is that what you're thinking, David, or are there other positive facets to it?
No, obviously that symbiosis is definitely there. But what I was really pleased about with the whole Veg Power initiative, and I remember seeing a presentation of it a number of years ago when I think it was pretty much first launched. But my thoughts always been, we as we're selling, at the end of our industry is selling food items, and we compete really with bars of chocolate or whatever else.
Yeah.
Cans of Coca-Cola, but generally those products have a huge amount of money going into promoting them.
Yeah.
Got products that are incredibly healthy. Everybody agrees we need to eat more, but because of the nature of the industry, we weren't really able to promote them that well. So I think this is a really good opportunity for the industry to get together and kind of help promote what we all do.
Yeah.
Let me put a number on that, David. The average consumer packaged goods company or quick service restaurant spends about 13% of its turnover on marketing and advertising. So you imagine if vegetables sent 13, vegetables probably doesn't spend 0.13% of its turnover on marketing and advertising. And ultimately, when we're competing for share of plate, share of basket, share of mind, you're exactly right. That's what we are competing with, and we are massively outgunned. Simple as that, and always will be. Right?
Yeah, and gents, it's not just the marketing elements. It's that you think of the massive burden on the NHS of that. Well, look at the National Food Strategy that's a white paper stage in the government at the moment, and this issue that the consumer is just eating too much salty food, too much high sugar food, when the answer, I always get shot down for this, to me the answer to the obesity crisis is very simple: more exercise and eating more veg, more fruit and veg. And I know there's more to it than that, but David, don't you think it's sort of farcical that you've got the likes of an energy drink that is spending something in the region of 25% of its £1.80 it gets for that energy drink on marketing, and they've got superstars, sports stars promoting it? Then we've got the likes of, we're talking about celery. So difficult for the Celery Association to have any form of marketing campaign to get any form of traction. But David, I suppose that's what, with your help with Veg Power, to give them that push, and with the Dad, what's that great expression you use? You're just a bunch of blaggers. That's why you managed to get 10 million of advertising from the likes of ITV, Channel 4 and Sky Media, and all the celebrity endorsements. Go on, Dan.
Well, I mean, how else? Well, there is an answer to how else, but at the moment we're faced with a situation that says if we want to go out and vaguely compete, nobody's got the money to pay for it. And so therefore we've got to go and try and find a way to get media and celebrity support and these other things for free, because that's the only budget we really have available. And thankfully it's such a good cause and so much goodwill for it that, as you say, my team are a bunch of blaggers who go around on the scrounge for the whole time on behalf of the vegetable industry. But we get an immense amount of support. But let's be realistic. It puts us on a par in terms, as an industry, in terms of marketing clout, on a par with something like Sharwood pickles, in terms of how much money and scale we have to our advertising campaign. And I think the question we have to sort of put to the government is, if the government really wants everybody to eat more fresh produce, it's not just veg, it's got a whole of fresh, right? They really want everybody to eat more and more fresh produce because it's a good thing. They also don't want to see prices of fresh produce go up, because they're concerned about making fresh produce available and accessible to people who don't necessarily have too much money. And so whilst the prices stay down and the margins stay tiny, there's no marketing. So the government needs to step into that more. The government needs to say, if this is what we agree is a good thing for the health and well-being of the nation, as well as for our countryside and our rural communities, the government needs to lean into getting that message out to the public and giving vegetables and other fresh produce a chance to compete for mindsets with fizzy drinks and chocolate bars. And I think that's the lean we have to have in them as we come out of Brexit and the realignment of the sector. You know, the AHDB's role is certainly changing, let's put it that way, shall we, in the sector. So as this massive realignment is happening, part of the story has to be significant government support for promoting vegetables, fruit, and other fresh products.
Yeah, but it's a no-brainer, because with that increase of consumption and the decrease of consumption of fatty foods, we're going to see better health service, better longevity, better issues. But we can't, Dan, you can't do that alone. And David, if it's okay, I'm going to be really cheeky here. I think it's fantastic that you, your colleagues at Toes of Seeds have got involved. David, would you encourage other fresh produce companies to be aligned, to hold the hand of Veg Power, to help them with their message? David, would you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Yeah, I mean, the more other companies join up, then the more there's more input there's going to be. So it's more successful, hopefully. Yeah. So absolutely, I'd encourage it. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, David. And David, as we said, it's such unique to have Dan and his colleagues, self-titled bunch of blaggers, to be able to go and now they've done that in some respects, the hard graft of getting those media relationships opened up. They've done that bit, but they sort of need the content and they need the support of the whole sector behind them. So again, it's brilliant that you've looked to endorse them, and thank you for that halcyon call to the rest of the sector to get involved, like yourselves and some other big organisations that are coming in. So Jen, should we go to this topic of seasonal veg? So Dan, why did you want to bring this up in why am I laughing, at the end of September, and it's gone really windy and it's gone really cold, and if there's nothing more that's going to warm us up, it's going to be seasonal vegetables. Why did you want to bring it up?
Well, I mean, you know, a nice, this time of year, a nice baked bit of beetroot, absolutely perfect for warming you up, isn't it? The question we're always asking is, how are we going to increase consumption of vegetables? That's obviously the question we ask every single day at the World of Veg Power. And we now have a very well-established kids campaign with Eat to Feed Them, which you see behind me on the wall, which is confirmed it's going to go ahead next year in 2022. It's going to be our 4th year. And we're going to try and push the schools program up to 1 million kids, which will be absolutely amazing. And again, big TV advertising campaigns and celebrity sports and all that support and the other bits, right? And so we're doing a really great job with kids, and we're slowly changing the perceptions around fun, which is really the gateway to getting kids to change their attitudes to fun. It's all about finding the fun in the food. If we look beyond the kids and we look towards particularly 18 to 34-year-olds who are, you know, millennials are now 23 to 41. I mean, you know, my generation will always think of millennials as kids, but they're not. They're the parents now. They're the adults. They're becoming managers and directors in their working lives. They're the people who are taking over the mantle of influence from the generation that we three all come from. How do we get that generation who are going to influence the next generation of children to have a positive attitude to veg? And we have to strip that back. And I think seasonality presents a really strong opportunity. Because seasonality, if you're talking about a generation that is much more conscious consumers, they care much more about the planet, they care much more about their community. How do we plug into that in order to grow veg and grow the category as a whole? And I think seasonality is the key that can unlock that door for us.
Brilliant. David, what do you think? Because you must see this a lot with the positive demands from your clientele in the respect of vegetables per se, but also seasonal veg. Would you concur with what Dan is saying? Is this a bit of magic dust that we can create, that we can help to grow the category by getting that generation excited about veg, excited about seasonal veg?
I think that's correct. Yeah, I mean, one of the only positive things that have come out of the lockdowns has been the amount of people who have got into growing their own veg. So we, as I said earlier, we sort of supply companies who then sort of sell seed into hobby gardeners, and sales have doubled, really. People have picked up on the idea of growing their own veg. And I think that leads to people understanding how veg is actually a seasonal thing, and as Dan said, I mean, I think it improves the relationship with food when a whole family can be sort of growing it and seeing how when it harvests and when you eat things. Yeah, I think it can be, if we can, you know, there is and always has been a sort of, you know, if you remember the sort of strawberries, there was always excitement about when strawberries came into season, asparagus. Yeah, I think it can be a really useful tool, absolutely.
So Dan, do you think that using this marketing strategy of the seasonal vegetable veg, that we can actually grow this category for one and all, and for the consumer to benefit from it?
Okay, so we have to break down and understand what the challenge is, and that's what we tried to do with the survey that we've just recently done with YouGov, because you know, we need to get a little bit more granular to understand what the issue is. Now, let me just give you some numbers that maybe break that down a bit. Is that 86% of people here in the UK believe that the environment is a really important issue. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the other 14%, but 86% say this is a very important issue. Right? But then when we say, do you see the environmental impact of your food as an important issue? It drops down to 49%. Wow. Now, interestingly, food's not on the agenda at all at COP26, which is absolutely insane, because we all know that. Right, the production of food generates something like about 10% of greenhouse gas emissions, and it has implications in terms of water and soil and many, many other issues, right? And yet it's not on the agenda for COP26 at all. It doesn't even exist inside the blue zone, and I believe that Nourish Scotland is setting up a pavilion outside the blue zone, but that's it for food. There is a pavilion outside the blue zone about food, which is insane, right? So we've got this massive great gap of people who don't realise that food is an important part of the climate change agenda. And that's something that we need to be talking about and getting it to front of mind. And we've seen some really good stuff on that recently from Sainsbury's and Morrison's, I think. The next thing is then we say, well, okay, how many people know about the environmental impact of our food? And again, we see it drop up to about a third of people reckon that they know the environmental impact of their food. So we've got some people who kind of care but don't know. But actually the real bit that matters is, do you do something about the environmental impact of your food? Do you make changes to how you shop to reduce that impact? We see it drop down to 25%. So we've got these gaps of people sort of don't know and don't care type groups that we need to go and talk to in order to change that. So how do we get that to the front of their mind, that food has a big part to play, and that how you choose your food in order to make a difference? Because actually, food is one of the areas where any one of us as an individual can materially change the impact we're having, right? Where it's harder in other areas, but we can do with food. And so a bit of this is about informing and empowering people to do things, because it's very, very hard to change culture and society and expectations and norms and things of that nature. You can do it if you have very big budgets or you have absolute genius at your fingertips. But actually, for most of us, particularly where we're in the smaller budgets of vegetables, what we have to do is find the prevailing winds and put our sail into those prevailing winds. And the prevailing wind of our time, one of the big ones, is about climate consciousness. And that's the wind that we need to make the most of, because it should be an open door for vegetables, but it isn't. We're not winning. We're not taking advantage of this trend at the moment. It is going straight past us by people who are marketing more aggressively.
Yeah, and that's fascinating. David, did you know about COP26, that food's not on the agenda? I didn't know that, because it's when you look at the National Food Strategy and the white paper that's going through, and how important that is in the respect of how here comes that expression, the government are looking to level up that whole area. God, David, it's virtually a national disgrace, isn't it, that food's not on there? But again, Dan, all credit to you to try and find those prevailing winds that you and Veg Power can hop onto to the benefit of the consumer and the industry. David, have you seen this before within your industry sector? This clamour, this desire, this potential for seasonal veg. Is it something that you can pivot your business towards to the maximum effect of your customers and their end consumers?
I think there's a couple of things. But firstly, I think the thing that was quite prevalent was a sort of campaign, for want of a better word, to buy local, which I don't think necessarily there was any clear definition of what local meant and whether that was really very meaningful. I'm not sure you can buy local if you're buying from sort of in the middle of London somewhere. Yeah. the alternative to that is actually, if you encourage people to buy seasonally, then effectively they will be buying locally. They'll be buying veg that's grown in the UK in the right season. So it effectively it's the same result. So I think that's something that could be we could look at as promoting seasonal more. Yeah,
I agree, Dave. We have to look upon local as being this big lump of land that we live in, because you know, for most people, particularly people who are perhaps got a little less money or a little less time, you know, they're popping down to the supermarket and they're buying their produce. They need to fill their basket and fill their bellies for 100 quid a week, whatever it might be, right? And so the idea that they're going to sort of pop out to their local farm shop and bought organically produced small farm leeks is not a realistic. It's a middle class sensibility that doesn't have any grounding in the real world. Local in a global world means here in the United Kingdom, possibly a bit of Ireland as well, and that's where we should be getting the majority of our produce from.
Okay, and just if there's one thing I've learned over the last 18 months of doing 150, 160 plus broadcasts, it's this amazing word, collaboration. So you look at the collaboration that the two of you have got, Tozer Seeds and Veg Power, but Dan, you will not say no to more collaboration. How can the sector as a whole help you, Dan, and your colleagues on the seasonality message? Is it that all of us should be upskilling our own social media to get this voice out, to race, to hold on to those prevailing winds? Or do we need to come to you directly with stories, with our individual camp? Dan, what do you need from us as an industry to collaborate with you to make seasonal veg a success, please?
So, I mean, it's, again, I think it goes back to understanding the issue. So one of the other things we looked at is, do people know what's in season when? And first of all, we said to people, do you feel you know about what's in season when? And 48% of people said that they did. And that goes up to about 64% with people who are over 55. So there's a reasonable expectation. We then gave everybody this quiz, which I don't think was too hard, where it said, right, when is this vegetable in season? It gave them sort of 6 different things to choose from to try and guess when they were in season. Now, the results were such that if somebody had rolled a dice, they would have got a better score than the public. And this was particularly true in hothouse products, where people think the season is much, much shorter than it is. But also, you know, generally people think that, you know, broccoli is a winter veg, right? Where we all know that, you know, if you're buying broccoli in January, it's coming from Spain. Right. So we found that people don't know. So how do we make it so people get greater visibility? And yes, it's great for people to push on their social channels, but I think they should be pushing their retailers, which I know is an impossibly hard thing to do. We should be talking about how we create greater prominence on packaging to make it easier for people who are shopping at speed to pick out products locally. I mean, interesting, we asked consumers about would they like to buy seasonal veg? And 75% of them said they thought it should be easier to buy seasonal veg than it is today. And 80% of them called on supermarkets to give greater visibility to veg that's in season inside their store. So I think one of the best things that the sector can do is to push that as best it can with its limited influence that it has on retailers. The social channels are great, but in respect to most growers, most of them don't have a very big social following. With 1 or 2 exceptions. The other thing is this whole idea of pushing seasonality in store. We're seeing quite a lot of interest in that from the grocers as well. So I think we may be pushing against an open door, because they are trying to emphasize their environmental credentials quite heavily, some more than others. And the seasonality becomes an important part of that. So I think there is a direction of travel that we all want to go in if we can collaborate more across the whole space.
Dan, well said. David, just going off on a segue, the person who does your social media is very good, very good. They need a big shout out. And I'm just trying to remember which retailer it was. Perhaps one of you two can help me. I think it's Asda has announced that they're going to be employing people to directly work in the fruit and veg department, to educate it, to help the consumer. So it comes back to this. This call that we need more greengrocers, because we've got a fantastic greengrocer in Bury St Edmunds Market who's jokingly called Lord Hart, and he will give you the halcyon call as you walk by that tomatoes are in, dragon fruit is in. We've got some dragon fruit. Try some dragon fruit. We've got celery in. We've got potatoes from and so you gain the sort of trust and your credibility of the product from him. So I think that was a really good thing. That if it is Asda, I think it is, that they're actually going to have more people in that particular department looking to educate the consumer and upsell. Fingers crossed, Dan. The likes of seasonal veg. David, just over to you. Do you think it is the job of the grower to educate the consumer on seasonal veg? There's me with my marketing head on saying that we should have more social media, and as Dan said, some of them don't have the best of social media following. But do you think we should be putting more of an onus onto the grower, or are they going to just say, well, we're growers, that's what we do. We don't do the job of the retailers. They don't do what we do. It's not really our job. What do you think, David?
Well, I think that's why something, Veg Power is so useful. I can remember being at a conference many, many years ago, and some marketing guru saying to the growers in attendance, don't expect the retailers to do your marketing for you, because that's not their job. I mean, they are there to sell as much as they can of whatever it may be, really. And we all know, actually, some of the veg is loss leaders. So very much it's for our industry to promote itself, to market itself. And that's why Veg Power is such a
well said.
And we need more collaboration, I think, around that, though, Max, because let's say you're a beetroot farmer or a celery farmer. It's very hard to go and do a marketing campaign for beetroot or celery. It's a very hard campaign to create, and we do see exceptions to that. The British asparagus work, the British tomato fortnight work is good, but it's very hard to create campaigns around a particular vegetable, and you end up with quite a small pool of resources behind it. Now, where we're turning quite a lot of our focus for our seasonal veg marketing. So, for example, the next one we have coming up is about tray bakes. And it's about doubling up the amount of vegetables you put into your tray bakes so that you can use them for lunches the next day. Because if you've roasted up some nice veggies, they're great. Mix them with some couscous, stick them on toast, stick them in the blender, make a soup, and you can basically get an extra meal for no more effort. Yeah. Now, what does that bring together? It brings together all the veg that works in tray bakes. And I've got to say, actually, new experience for me. I'm putting celery in my tray bakes recently, and it works absolute treat. Doesn't want to go in for too long, but it's delicious, right? So we start seeing all our lovely roots, all our squashes, peppers, mushrooms, celery, and some others can all collaborate around an idea, which the idea is the tray bake. Because if people eat more tray bakes, they will eat more of those products, right? It also gets into the mindsets of people. How do we shop, right? We don't think, you know what, I really fancy beetroot tonight. What am I going to make with it? What we think is, we're going to have a salad this evening, or a stir fry, or whatever it might be. And we need to think, well, okay, if somebody's thinking stir fry, we want to make sure that leads them to the products we want them to put into their stir fry that's pretty veg heavy. And so I think wrapping stuff around, looking at the issue from the lens of the consumer and how they're thinking, and collaborating around areas of mutual benefit is how we can maybe bring a little bit more scale to the modest resources that people can bring.
David, we're very lucky to have Dan, aren't we? He's pretty mustard. So I always end up saying this about him, but I meet very few people within the sector that has got that help me, David. That sort of strategic thinking, that creative thinking. Here comes the buzzy terms, but thinking out of the box, and actually to have that deployed into the sector. That tray bake idea is just dynamite, because you can see a 15-25% uplift of veg sales on the back of that. Cook a meal, but you're actually cooking the meal for the next day. What do you think, David?
Exactly, yeah. And I think to a degree, when I see the amount of recipes in newspapers and online, there is a sort of, I think there is a bit of an open door here, and I think people are quite open to using more veg. If people are coming where we started, people know this is a good thing to do. People know eating veg is good for you. We should all be trying to have a more balanced diet, including more fruit and veg in our diet, because nearly all of us are actually a little bit deficient in that. So absolutely, I think these sort of ideas are in tune with the sort of thinking of many people.
Also, we need to think about our products as well in all this, Max, is that it's very easy in the world of veg not to see product development as something that we do, because a carrot's a carrot, right? But actually, is that one of the issues that really came out of the study of the pandemic is how important convenience is in people's food. Everybody thinks they're busy, even if they're not. And often the reasons that people give for not being as healthy as they might have wished to be, or to scratch cooking to the degree they want, is convenience. And what we saw with the pandemic is people got time back because they were working from home. A lot of that time got invested into people scratch cooking more. So what's exciting, I think, is some of the interesting new product development that's going on. I know Tozer are doing an awful lot of this to develop products that actually start to give us some new ideas and some fresh thinking about veg that's easy to access.
Yeah, well done. So Jess, just watching the time. Dan, let's use our platform, use our network. Tell us what you want from us, and tell us what else we're going to see from Veg Power running up to the end of the year and in the new year. What do you want from us, and what's going on?
Okay, so I think the important thing is, part of the reason we're looking at seasonality is because not only do I think it can be beneficial for UK-based growers, but actually I think it will grow the category, and it will grow variety, and will grow perception of values, and therefore the prices that people pay. And I think everybody gets to benefit. I think the frozen get to benefit. I think imported veg gets to benefit, because the whole category will benefit if we use seasonality like a champion. Yeah. Now we are running seasonal veg campaigns. We do them on a budget of threepence halfpenny. And they're fine, and we get lovely influencer support, get loads of celebrities come behind them, and we get some decent reach for them, right? But they have some limits. If we're getting a next level around this thing, we do need the government to get involved. And what we're going to be working on next few months is we're trying to open up. There is a door ajar for us. There is a lot of money moving around inside DEFRA, and reorganisation of the whole sector going on because of Brexit and because of the AHDB and other issues. We need to position the sector as a whole to say, come on, government, give us money. And I think seasonality is the flag for that. And what I'm doing over the next few months is I'm off to visit all of Veg Power's members. We now have 24 members now that Tozer has joined us. I'm going to be visiting all those. I'm off to Barfoot's on Wednesday, which will be lovely. Hopefully the sun will come out, and I won't have to trudge around the field in the rain. And part of what I'm doing is rallying support so that as an industry, we go to DEFRA and say, support this. And we're working with Jack Ward at British Growers, who recently joined our board. And we need to start giving some voice. And I think Veg Power can do this, is that Veg Power can step into a role that AHDB never quite did, which is to be the marketing voice, the voice of let's get people to eat more veg, let's grow the sector as a whole. But we do need that industry support behind us in order to really have the gravitas, the leverage, in order to be able to hopefully get some decent support from the government.
Dan, well said. 24 members is fantastic. Barfoot's, they are the best grower of sweet corn in the UK, as Dan will find out when he goes down to Chichester on Wednesday. I'm just thinking of the FPJ, Fresh Produce Journal. They come out every year with the top 100 companies in fresh produce. And really, there's no reason why all of those companies shouldn't be aligned to Dan, to Veg Power, because that's going to give weight to Dan and Veg Power, but also give that influence to government, for government to get involved. And then we've got the double bubble of all that support from the sector and the support from government. So David, just to wrap up with yourself, it's fantastic that you've given this endorsement of this partnership with Veg Power. What would you like to see? What would you like Veg Power to accomplish over the next 2-3 years, especially with your involvement, please?
Well, I mean, what we're hoping for, obviously, is the success of the marketing campaigns. For obviously, as Dan was saying, the more members I think we can get on board, then the more likely it is that we'll get funding from government as well. So yeah, just to see ideally it'd be great to see a sort of snowballing of this and really being able to have enough clout really to make a difference with the marketing.
David, well done, and be brave like David has. I know that what's that expression that we've always said, Dan, before, that 50% of marketing doesn't work. You just don't know which 50%. But then if you look at Dan, Dan the mustard, I've got to call him that on a Monday morning, end of September. See his ability and that of his teams, and see what they've already done to date in the respect of £10 million worth of TV advertising alone, and with the partnerships with the likes of David. The future looks bright, but David and Dan can't do it alone. We all need to support Veg Power on that basis. So gentlemen, just before we wrap up, I'm going to see if Dan has changed, but we'll come to him last. David, what's your favourite fresh produce?
Well, I have to say the kalettes, because they're a unique Tosa product, and they're seasonal. They're between a kale and a Brussels sprout. They're due in the supermarkets in November, and we just think they're fantastic, versatile, easy to cook, perfect vegetable.
Fantastic.
I spent most of my time at Tosa with you mentioning Barfoot's, doing lots and lots of sweet corn trials, so I'm quite partial to a bit of sweet corn.
Excellent. Come on, Dan, I want to see if you've changed. What's your favourite fresh produce?
I'm
please?
forever changing. At the moment, for me, it's massively beetroot and squash. I mean, if we make a tray bake and we make some extra beetroot and squash, it's like having a bag of sweets. It really is. But over the course of summer, I have to say I was really doing a lot of celery. I'm just saying that because David was here. But I got my recommendation for people is to use celery like a piece of bread and fill the tube of the celery with like pate or hummus or something like that, and then just I've been doing a lot of that this summer. But as winter's kicking in, which it certainly was this morning, I'm deeply into my roots and squashes.
Excellent. David, shall we hop in the car and go down to Brighton and see Dan and enjoy a tray break on Brighton seafront?
I want some carelettes.
Oh, yes.
When's my bag of carelettes arriving, David?
Oh, as soon as they begin to be harvested.
Can I tray bake them?
You can tray bake them, yeah, absolutely. You can eat them raw, you can tray bake them, you can stir fry them.
It's turned into a cooking show.
Well, at the end of the day, the best way to get the world to eat more vegetables is to celebrate how fantastic they are.
Yeah, boom. Right. Gentlemen, well done. Love to have you both on again. And yeah, all power to Veg Power and all power to Tosa Seeds. Dan, thank you. David, thank you. We'll catch up very shortly.
Thanks, Max.
Thank you. Bye-bye.